Hello, and welcome back to another great episode of hashtag Screw the W2. And today's guest I actually have on Billy Keels of First Gen Capital Partners. And this is actually, I want to say my first guest that's 6, 7, 8, 12 different time zones between where I'm at. He'll have to verify. But Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, John. I think we're seven. I think we're seven.
7, okay, yeah, because you're joining us from Barcelona, Spain,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. From
Okay.
Barcelona. I sure am. I sure
Yeah, I
am,
was trying
man.
to do that in my head. It's like, okay, there's Eastern, then it goes in the Atlantic, and then here, and then so
Love it. Love it.
all
Love
right.
it.
Sounds good. Well, as kind of wanted to start off the show like I do with many others, but obviously you've had quite a long career, like you said, in IT. Obviously kind of doing your own thing now. But if you want to kind of rewind in time, what was your previous W-2 job, or what was like a standard day, if you will?
Yeah, I love that, man. So a couple of things, and I would just say one thing, because as a fellow podcaster, I know that you put a lot of inspiration, a lot of time and commitment into this. And so if you're watching and you're listening and you have not yet left John an honest written review as well as a rating, literally take just a couple seconds because it's a great way for him to also get guests that will help you get what you need. So hopefully you're okay with that, John.
Yep,
But
no, appreciate that. Thank
I
you.
do
So
just want to just want to share that. So I spent basically 26 years of my working life as a W 2 employee. I started in a career right after college that allowed me to work and travel throughout some 58 different countries. I did that.
wow.
I was living in St. Louis, Missouri. I was 26 years old and I'd seen so much of the world. I was like, hey, listen, I need to take a 1 year sabbatical. So I did that. I was supposed to live in Paris, France for 1 year, go back to the US and continue into my corporate career. I ended up working. I changed from the area that I was working before to a new industry. I got into IT. I started on the hardware side of things. I was working for Dell. Then I left Dell and I was living in France, in the south of France. Ended up
Wow.
meeting this really cool, cute Spanish woman.
Okay.
Dell sent me to Italy to start up a sales team because I'd always been in sales and sales leadership. So I did that, and then from there went back to France and eventually left the hardware space, moved into software, worked for a company called CA. And in the last 16 years of my career, I worked for a company called SAP, a very large enterprise resource planning company. I worked in
Okay.
sales and sales leadership. The largest business that I managed was about $100 million business across Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Wow.
And then the last couple of years, I spent time really working locally. So in the Spanish market, working and selling in Spanish and Catalan language, and doing that with annual targets that were in excess of 3, 4, 5 million euros. So do the translation and depending
Sure.
on
Yeah.
what that was. And but I mean that was really my life. I've spent a really long time in corporate. I really enjoyed my corporate experience, John. So that's one of the things that I was very fortunate. I had a really good time. I had an excellent run. I was in an industry where people were extremely well paid. And especially when you overachieved against your targets in sales and those kind of
Yep.
organizations, it was like I eventually was living a lifestyle that I never even dreamt of as a very lower middle class kid from Columbus, Ohio. So
Okay.
but it was a lot of long days. There were no 40-hour work weeks didn't exist. It was more like 60 to 80.
Yep. Exactly.
And sometimes it was, 25 hours a week because in the sales organizations, it's really about the outcomes, the results. No one cares
Mhm.
about how many hours you put in, but if you don't put in the time, the hours to build the relationships,
Right.
you definitely don't get the results. So that's a little bit, I guess, really quickly kind of my 26-year corporate career in, I guess, 3 minutes or something like
All
that.
right. No, no, perfect. Yeah. So it's definitely and especially being able to travel the world, that was definitely, I mean, like I've been 7 countries off the top of my head, so I got a little bit of catching up to do. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, one of the advantages that I've had of living here in Europe for the last 22 years between France, Italy, and Spain is I've had a chance to continue to travel. So today, I'm at 86 countries that I've traveled to. So my
oh
next
wow.
goal is to get to Antarctica because I want to make 7 continents, at least for those of us in the US. The Europeans believe there's only 5 continents, but that's a whole different thing. My wife is
Interesting.
European,
Okay.
so yes, we'll talk about that one after this. But and then also I want to get to 100 countries as well, or I will get to 100 countries.
Okay. Well, send me a picture for me in Antarctica. It's cold enough here in Minnesota. I have no
All
desire to go anywhere colder.
right.
All right. So now, Billy, with the career you had, obviously with the the sales experience, obviously the the travel and all the perks. I'm guessing at some point in that in those travels, there was like a moment like, well, I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. I got to get out of here. What exactly was that moment for you that you decided, yep, I need to leave the W-2 world, so to speak?
Yeah. So for me, it actually happened on two different occasions.
Okay.
One was in 2012. And the reason that happened was because I was, I call myself a recovering perfectionist. I'm
Okay.
someone who grew up getting really good grades in school. So I studied really, really hard because I watched my parents financially, they didn't have all the things that they wanted, all the resources that they wanted. So I realized that that was going to always be a constraint. So they kept telling me, study hard, get really good job, and then eventually you get good grades and you're going to get a great job and you won't have to do all the stuff that we're doing. So I believe
Sure.
that I did a lot of work and studied. And so as I did that, that also carried over into my corporate career because I started thinking, wow, get great grades in college, you get a good job, you get an amazing job. You just keep doing more work and getting the promotions and moving up the ladder. And that's the kind of stuff that I was doing. But I was also a really young father. And the first thing that kind of happened to me, John, was the night before my son's third birthday. I was really not feeling well. Like I was kind of ill, physically not feeling well, because the next morning for his third birthday, I had to take a flight from Barcelona, Spain to Frankfurt, Germany. Now, I decided that I was going to take that flight because I was on that kind of default path to rising up the corporate ladder and just getting the next promotion. And that was the thing, because I wanted to be in this meeting. There were some other people that I needed to be there with and make the right influence. And the reason that I didn't sleep well was because I was conflicted internally, because the next morning I ended up waking up really early, woke my wife, and we had a 1-year-old as well. Woke them up because I wanted to give my 3-year-old a hug and kiss before I got on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, like I gave him a hug and kiss, saying happy birthday. And then I went to this business meeting and I still wasn't feeling well. And then that evening, while I was in this business meeting dinner, that today I can't really tell you what the content of that meeting was. The thing that stays with me even to this day was I missed my son's third birthday. And so that evening, when my in-laws and my youngest son and my wife, they were all together blowing out the candles, and my son doesn't remember that, but I do.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And so that was the thing inside of me, that there was this incongruent behavior. And I also recognized that I wasn't doing enough to actually have control over the financial outcomes of my life, because that was the thing that was in the back of my mind. But that was the day that I got back is when I sat down and actually wrote out my goals to get started investing in, at the time it was real estate. And I do still continue to invest in real estate. I've invested in a number of different hard assets today, but I started investing there. And then fortunately I'd done that for a decade. And so for the decade that I was investing in, I bought a number of different things, from small multifamilies to I bought a mobile home park. And I found out I was an accredited investor. So I started investing my capital with other people because I realized that they could do the work and I would get the reward.
Sure. Yep.
All that kind of stuff, ATM machines, hotels, other large multifamily. But the reason I tell you that is towards the end, I was also paying a lot in tax, and I decided to get involved in the energy space as well. So, but the fortunate part of that, John, was for a decade, I was doing all this investing while I was working a very high profile executive role in an IT company. The last 3 or 4 years of that job, I was going into the job not because I needed to, but because I wanted to, because the investments that I was making, the income stream that was kicking off of those investments, plus the way that I was able to keep more of my income taxes, because I was paying a very high rate of income tax because I was really good at my job.
Yeah.
That was all preparing me for what happened in the latter part of 2021, because my father got really, really sick. And when my dad got really sick, and he's doing much better today, but he had a very serious health problem. And I flew back to the States a couple of times. It was during Q4, which is a time when salespeople really are, you're doing the majority of your sales year. Yep. Unfortunately, at that point in time, I was flying back and forth to the US. And after his surgery, he was hooked up to, in the ICU, to these life support systems. And I just remember being there with my dad, thinking to myself, like, life is very finite. Like, I'd known that before, but when you see your father that's there, it was kind of like, you know what? I'm still going into the job. I like it. I'm getting the recognition. I'm crushing my targets. I'm in the top talent program. I'm going to Hawaii every other couple of years, but I don't want to keep doing this because I feel like there's still things that I want to do. Yep. And the answer to your question, because it happened to me in two parts. The first part was the pain of missing my son's third birthday. That got me into action. And then fortunately I stayed in action, worked a lot of long hours because I was performing well in my day job and then building my life on the side. But that was preparing me for what would happen in December of 2021 when I left the corporate world, because it was about realizing that there was something else that was out there for me to be able to do. And I was in the right situation to be able to do that. So it's maybe a little bit long-winded answer, but I had a good corporate job. I liked it.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't fulfilling me. Like there was something else that I wanted to do. And when I saw the things that was going on, it was time for me to make a move.
Yeah. Well, and we were talking off camera, a little bit, a mutual friend of ours you had met or talked with, Bronson Hill. I had him on my show as well. And he always looked at it where, well, I decided to leave my job. If I had to, if I wanted to, I could find another job. You just, hit the nail on your head with your son's third birthday. You can never go back and relive that third birthday ever again. I mean, that's just, it's gone.
Yep. Yeah. And that was the thing. Like I said, it was more for me. It wasn't about like I said, my son doesn't even know it. But for me, it was just that incongruency in the fact that I allowed corporate objectives to move ahead of my own personal life my own life priorities and my life objectives, which was to be a very present father. And so, that it was one of those things, but that's what I needed. Somebody else may need something else. And one of the reasons that you and I are here to share that story is I hope that someone makes a decision to get started before they have to miss their son or daughter or whoever's event that they really want to be at. I chose to do that because I got caught up in the corporate world and let their priorities go ahead of mine. And also I was really beholden to my salary and the ups and downs of the 401k. We didn't even talk about that, but I lost in 2000, I lost my portfolio value. And in 2008, when it happened the second time, I lost 33% of the value of my portfolio. And that was also one of the things that I realized, like, I need to be doing something else because this is not working for me.
Exactly. So, and especially fast forward, if you had the traditional IRA 401k route, like, okay, 2000, 2008, if you're young, you got time to recover. I knew people around 2000 and 2008, they're going to retire the next year. It's like, you can't recover a 35% loss in 1 year, period.
No. And you and I both know you need, a lot more than 35% if you lose that. So,
well, 78, or I can't do that in my head right now.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's almost twice.
Sounds good. So you had kind of alluded this before, December of 2021. Do you remember the exact day that was your last day of your W-2?
My official last day was the 16th of December, 2021.
16th of December. Okay. So it's kind of interesting. Some people I ask, it's like, they know at 4:59, I gave my boss the middle finger and I walked out or something. And others are like, I think it was middle of November, maybe. I'm not sure.
No, it's one of those things. I've always been like, I like numbers. And so that was one of the things. And also too, for me, John, I had a really positive corporate experience. I really liked it. Like, it was really, like, I was able to see the world. Like, I was able to travel throughout 86 countries.
Sure.
And one of the reasons was because of the corporate life and the things that I gave to the corporate life. I made amazing amounts of money that I never even thought, I couldn't even dreamt of, but I was in the application software space, enterprise, and I was, leading large accounts and managing really big businesses. There was a lot of stress that came with that.
Yeah.
But as a result, there was also, I made a lot. I made a lot of money. Later on, I learned how to keep a lot more money, which is two completely different things, as you know.
Exactly.
And I had the nice company car and the great benefits package and all that stuff. So I had a really positive experience. I just realized that there was something else. And very similar to what you said earlier, Bronson said, like, I know that if I ever wanted to go back to corporate, there's a lot of places I could go.
Right.
I just am not interested in doing that. So unfortunately, don't have to do that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, you kind of alluded this a little bit, Billy, and thankfully, or fortunately, you were in a job that you did enjoy and you liked what you did. I've talked to numerous entrepreneurs where they just absolutely hated their previous job, and that was their main driving force to leave it. But is there, if there was like maybe one thing you missed the most about your W-2, what would that be?
What do I miss the most about the W-2? Because of the companies that I worked with, especially in the last 16 years, I was surrounded by very smart people doing pretty amazing things and solving I would say hundreds of millions, sometimes billion euro dollar type of problems. Sure. And so when you're able to be in the very large business to business type of context, and you can say that, hey, listen, you are part of a problem solving. You found a solution to a problem that was causing an enterprise, hundreds of millions, if not, billions over X number of years, that you were part of the solution. Like, that's pretty cool. And that was in being surrounded by other really smart people that really understood industry and process, and also being able to understand how to get to and build consensus and alliances. It's just amazing. So that's probably the thing that I missed the most.
Okay. Sounds good. Now, you've, like you said, 26 years in IT, had a very successful, fulfilling career, and, kind of that two-step exit, if you will, between missing your son's birthday to where your dad was unfortunately very sick. For anyone out there listening, maybe in a similar situation, or, maybe they just absolutely hate their job and they just like, I need to get out of here. But it's like, I'm not a real estate investor. I don't know the first thing about ATM machines or multifamily or anything like that. If you could, speak directly to any of those, what would you say is your best advice for those feeling stuck that they know there's more out of life?
Well, the first thing I would say is, if you're already here listening to John, like, don't just listen, take action, right? Because he's providing you with value of different types of opportunities that you can seize and actually put them in action. Because the reason that you're here is not just to like take on this theoretical knowledge, it's to put it into practice.
Right.
Because the thing that I don't want for you is that you do get to a situation where you don't feel like you're able to make a decision because either you lack the funds or you lack the support, or somebody is ill and you're not able to get to a place. Like, start before you actually need to make the decision, because if
Sure.
you've waited too long, then it's already you're already lost. Like,
Right.
don't just make this a theoretical exercise. You're already taking like a step that 90% of the people won't take, which is actually getting education ahead of time, and then take it from the education, put it into action, so that you can actually become not a theoretical ninja, but actually be someone who is of significance for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, and for others.
Yeah, well said. No, I appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
all right. Now, Billy, as we finish this off, and again, I want to appreciate you coming on to the show here. I'll come up with some really fancy marketing term for this later, but I kind of call this a soapbox moment. What are you most excited about with 2023? Are there any new projects you're working on that you want to tell the listeners about?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I'm excited about in 2023 is we're continuing to build momentum around the way that we're serving accredited investors. And you talked about it first. First generation accredited investors is something that's close to my heart, because I'm a first generation accredited investor. I didn't even know what that was, John. I was hanging out with people and they were talking about being an accredited investor, and I had been one for a number of years and didn't even realize it. But we are helping accredited investors, and it's been over 2.5, almost 3 years now, and we're at a point where we are continuing to help that person. And I talked to you about it earlier, like going from making a lot of money to being able to keep a lot of the money, and being able to do that through investing in the energy space specifically, where we have a solution that's helping with income tax, and actually being able to keep more of your income tax by investing in the energy space. And so we're really excited about that. We're seeing a lot of momentum, and we're helping people save, almost, I think we're close to $20 million worth of losses against W-2 income, which is pretty big. And so, and you can do that without having to worry about being a real estate professional, because most of us who are like me, I used to be, right, a high paid professional in the W-2 space, it's really difficult. And I know you've talked about this with people like Brandon in the past, and Yona, where, when you're a high paid professional, it's difficult to become a real estate professional status, or to be someone who's in this the short-term rental space, and it's really difficult. And so we've taken that difficulty out, and being able to invest in the energy space, being able to keep more of your income, so that you can ultimately live the lifestyle that you really want to live. So we're excited about that. Like I said, we're building momentum, and we have more and more accredited investors that want to know more about what it is that we're doing, and we're continuing to serve them. So So that's what I'm excited about from a business perspective. I'm also really excited that I'm playing more video games with my kids, although they're beating me still a lot, and getting a lot more quality time as well with my wife and my loved ones. Getting able to fly back to the U.S. more frequently to spend time with my dad, my mom, and brother and sister. So those are the things I'm really excited about in 2023, and looking forward to continue to make a positive impact.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. And hopefully I'll be able to join you. I'm getting close on hitting the accredited investor threshold, hoping to get that here by the end of 2023. But then I don't have to ask, like, are you 506C or 506B? Oh, 506C. See you later.
Yeah. Well, I know you'll be there soon.
Perfect. So, well, I appreciate your time, Billy, for joining us, and hope everything goes well for you in 2023 and stays warm there for you and over in Spain.
All right, perfect. Hey, John, I really appreciate it, and it's been a great pleasure. And one of the things is, I forgot to say this earlier, if anybody is an accredited investor and they want to find out more about how we're helping accredited investors, they can go to firstgencp.com/paylesstax and find out more about how we're helping those accredited investors. Once again, firstgencp.com/paylesstax. So thanks so much, John. Really appreciate it.
And show notes here too. So thanks, Billy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.